Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Shifa Raulakau. Please stay with us. In a letter addressed to the government of Ireland, Ethiopia's Foreign Minister Dammaqqa Mokonnon expressed dismay with Ireland's repeated efforts to undermine Ethiopia using its membership in the UN Security Council, the European Union, and other institutions. The letter said Ethiopia has every right and desire to find peaceful remedy to the conflict in the north. Ethiopia's plea to Ireland to reduce hostility and undermining of its sovereignty and territorial integrity has not been heeded, Dammaqqa said, recalling that EU groups visiting Ethiopia privately advised authorities that they need to mend fences with Ireland if they desired to normalize relations with the European Union. Dammaqqa further said Ethiopia's efforts to do so were rebuffed by Ireland. The foreign minister went on to say that as disheartening as it sounds, if judged by the response from Ireland, Ethiopia's re-engagement policy with the West is frustrating. Appealing to the Irish government to refrain from hostilities, Dammaqqa further requested the EU member nations to engage with Ethiopia in a more constructive manner. Concluding his appeal, Dammaqqa nevertheless said the response from Ireland is instrumental in deciding whether there is enough ground for Ethiopia to press ahead with what is left of the diplomatic relations. Moving on, with the motto of African Solutions to African Problems, the Tana High-Level Forum was launched in Bahir Dar City, Ethiopia 10 years ago. The forum is one of the rare platforms creating the opportunity for African policymakers and academicians to meet and discuss contemporary security challenges of the continent. Issues are discussed in a very semi-formal atmosphere without strictly observing protocols. Shogai Amato takes us back through the 9 years of Tana Forum in the following piece. Have a listen to this.
When launched back in 2012, the Tana Forum was attended by African leaders, businessmen and politicians to find remedies to African challenges. The idea of inviting African minds to sift through pressing issues was supported by Mallas Zenawi, the late Prime Minister of Ethiopia, and Professor Andreas Shete.
The Tana Peace Conference is not intended to duplicate or replace the work of our already existing institutions, but to supplement and reinforce them. Unlike most, if not all, of our institutions, the conference is conducted in an informal setting. It involves not only political leaders, but also army and security officials, academics, and businessmen. It thus gathers all key stakeholders in the security of our continent. These, I believe, will be one of its unique characteristics, which will enable it to have a unique perspective that could inform and reinforce the efforts of other institutions.
Andreas Shete, a prominent scholar, for his part underscored that the forum will help tackle pressing issues such as conflicts, insurgency, terrorism, and violent extremism, among others.
The forum is an opportunity to interrogate or even stretch the limits of legitimate public deliberation on African public policy on matters of peace and security. In the light of Africa's intractable and swiftly changing problems of peace and security, the reflective search for unexplored options and fresh perspectives is a matter of urgency. This forum may help to advance this quest and thereby contribute to the vital work of institutions such as the African Union.
Fast forward 7 years, the forum saw a blessing from current Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Abiy pointed out that the Tana Forum is a mechanism by which great ideas are forwarded to African challenges, adding finance is needed to mobilize joint efforts.
Forums like this and other platforms under the patronage of the African Union generates great idea and solution to Africa's challenge. However, to implement this proposed solution, we need finances as well as an efficient, accountable, and effective union that can deliver on our continental promises.
Africa has been passing through a maze of dramatic changes as well as challenges. Azra said, adding, hence the forum will help promote peace and security in Africa.
This forum is taking place at a time when the Horn of Africa is passing through dramatic changes, changes that have rekindled a sense of hope and optimism for the peoples of the region. However, the region also continues to face many challenges, a shifting regional and international geopolitical landscape. It is therefore in this context that we are discussing the political dynamics in the Horn of Africa with a view to understanding the emerging trends and provide timely and appropriate responses aimed at promoting peace and stability and creating favorable conditions for unleashing the region's potential for economic growth and prosperity.
This year's TANA Forum will take place in Bahir Dar, Ethiopia, amid challenges such as the war in the north, the Russo-Ukraine war, and terror acts in the Sahel region.
Meanwhile, the TANA Forum is also believed to be an ideal platform to deal with pressing peace and security matters of the continent. Briefing the press, board member of the Forum Secretariat, Hailemariam Desalegn, underlined that the forum provides African leaders and stakeholders with an opportune moment to engage and explore African-led security solutions. Frank, relevant, and candid dialogue is fundamental to resolving conflict and transforming societies. The TANA High-Level Forum is a venue to holding discussions on the strategic and proactive management of African peace and security issues, driven by the interests to contribute to stronger power ownership of these issues. Have a listen to this.
This year's TANA Forum is invariably about how best to respond resolutely to emerging socio-economic, political, governance challenge, or manage such threats in a way that does not lose sight of the continent's most valuable resource, that is its citizens. How arts, culture, and heritage, as well as resilience in nutrition and food security, which are the AU theme of the last 2 years, respectively, can be harnessed to promote enduring peace, considering the continent's myriad challenge needs to be interrogated in this forum by shifting focus away from states and institutions to citizens.
Hailemariam told journalists that the forum complements formal meetings of African heads of state and government by assembling them in an informal, collaborative environment.
We expect the outcomes of the forum as a shared understanding of current and emerging peace and security threats in Africa, and commitment to managing threats by investing more in governance and building resilience. Now, resilience has become the catchword for this forum, with significant premium given to citizens, active and sustained participation in public affairs. That remains an important component in achieving resilience.
New ideas, new perspectives, and new viewpoints. We are coming to you with renewed commitments through our new programs, Explore Ethiopia and Diplomatic Insight, because we believe that you deserve to know the truth. For global perspectives on local matters regarding Ethiopia, join us on Addis Dialogue, featuring distinguished guests from Africa and the entire globe on ETV Language, the voice of diversity and renaissance. Moving on, head of the Ethiopian Consulate General Office in the Kingdom of Bahrain, Ambassador Awal Wagris, met and discussed with Tourism Minister of Bahrain, Fatima bint Jafar al-Sairafi. The ambassador called on Bahraini tourists to visit Ethiopia, mentioning various renowned tourist attractions and destinations in the country. To increase tourist flows, he emphasized the necessity of collaboration between the ministries and travel agencies of the two countries. The minister, for her part, promised the ambassador that she would work to make Ethiopia one of the top travel destinations for Bahraini visitors by encouraging them to include Ethiopia in their tour package. She also supported the notion that key players in the tourism industries of the two nations should collaborate closely in order to increase tourist flows and tighten people-to-people ties. Moving on, Ethiopia's permanent representative to the UN in Geneva, Zennebe Kebede, says the renewal of the UN Human Rights Commission mandate on Ethiopia is targeted to repeat the same politically motivated investigation in Ethiopia. He underscores that the US and Western powers use human rights as a political tool to pursue their political objectives on sovereign nations. Gush Malsa reports.
Ethiopia has shown strong commitment and cooperation to investigate the alleged human rights violation in Tigray. However, the UN Human Rights Commission experts on Ethiopia released substandard report underestimating the joint report of Ethiopian Human Rights Commission and the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. Talking to ETV, Ethiopia's permanent representative to the UN in Geneva, Zennebe Kebede said the renewal of the UN Human Rights Commission mandate on Ethiopia is targeted to repeat the same politically motivated investigation in Ethiopia.
The initiators and the sponsors of the resolution who established the commission have a politically motivated objective to again repeat the same investigation in the Tigray region, than focusing on what has never been done in Amhara and Afar region.
The permanent representative of Ethiopia to the UN, Zennebe Kebede, underscored that the US and Western powers use human rights as a political tool to pursue their interest on sovereign nations.
The implication of tabling resolutions which do not have a human rights substance, but motivated by political objectives affects not only Ethiopia, but already many other African countries and even non-African countries have been affected because the Western powers who usually try to make use of the Human Rights Forum as a political tool, as a political forum to push their political objectives.
He further underscored that the extension of UN human rights is unacceptable and doesn't make any difference.
The sponsors of the resolution were politically motivated, and the established commission doesn't have any credibility. It has been rejected from the outset, and whether its mandate is extended or not, we don't believe it would make any difference. We don't believe it would do genuine work, except to fulfill the political message, the political assignment given to them by the sponsors of the commission, the resolution.
Zennebe called upon African countries to reject the renewal mandate of UN Human Rights Commission.
African countries have already practically and vividly have spoken out by rejecting the resolution that extends the mandate of the Commission. So I hope this will continue further strengthened.
The resolution to extend the mandate of UN Human Rights Commission approved in a very narrow gap with its sponsors, and many African countries rejected the resolution, it was noted.
Now, the German ambassador to Ethiopia, Stephen R., says Germany is desirous to elevate long-standing ties with Ethiopia in various fields. The embassy has marked the German Unity Day. Kasanchan has more on that.
The
32nd anniversary of the German Unity Day was marked on Thursday and a presence of senior government officials from Ethiopia, members of the diplomatic corps, members of the business community and invited guests. The fall of the Berlin Wall marks an important milestone in history when nations who had to live in two opposite camps broke the brutal separation, opting to unite as one.
I'm particularly delighted to welcome you all to the first big reception, and my wife and I are able to host here at the residence since we came to Ethiopia in summer 2020. Many thanks also to the children of the German Embassy School for the lively rendition of the hymns of Germany, Ethiopia, the African Union and Europe. It really was a great performance. Some of you may ask, why 4 hymns? Well, because we celebrate not only 32 years of German reunification, a historic event about my courageous people of Europe and Eastern Germany striving for freedom and democracy. Key for us to overcome our division were not only our American friends, but also our European partners and, of course, the Continental Peace Project called the European Union, in which German unification was embedded. Today also gives us the opportunity to celebrate our historic relationship with Ethiopia. And we celebrate our close and long-standing partnership with the African Union, the continental sister of the European Union. So there you go, 4 hymns.
Ambassador Orplit, Germany will provide all the necessary assistance for any peacekeeping or mediating activities carried out within the umbrella of the African Union.
We need the African Union more than ever. It has the mandate to lead negotiations to end the war and suffering in northern Ethiopia and to start a long overdue peace process. Elsewhere on the continent, the African Union is working tirelessly for peace and stability so that democratic and economic progress can be achieved. My government is a staunch supporter of the African Union. Our partnership with Africa and the African Union is a policy priority back in Berlin. That our embassy was upgraded this summer to the same seniority level as Washington, London or Paris is testament to this. My team and I look forward to working with the many colleagues from the African embassies and the African Union to further strengthen our partnership and friendship. Ladies and gentlemen, when I see so many happy faces all around, I would be amiss not to mention that today's celebration comes at a time when globally the general mood is rather somber. Here in Ethiopia, fighting has resumed in the north. People in many regions suffer from violence, hardship and drought. The African Union is managing crises in many parts of the continent, including unconstitutional changes in government that violate the word and spirit of the AU Constitutional Act.
Ergogi Tesfaye, Ethiopian Minister for Women and Labour Affairs, expressed gratitude to the German government for years' assistance during Ethiopia's trials and tribulations. She also reaffirmed Ethiopia's commitment to find a peaceful settlement to the conflict still flaring in the northern part of the country.
True friendship is tested during hard times. There is also a proverb which says, a friend in need is a friend indeed. Over the past years, my country has faced tremendous challenges, both internally and externally. At all these times, Germany has maintained its constructive engagement despite some understandable concerns. We attach great value to this reliable and time-tested relationship. I wish to underline that the government of Ethiopia is committed more than ever to adopt all possible measures to resolve the conflict in the north in a manner that ensures lasting peace and territorial integrity of our country. In this regard, I would like to call on all friends, Germany especially, and the European Union as a whole, to assume a constructive role in the process of augmenting the mediation process under the auspice of the African Union.
Ambassador Stefan Ahr emphasized that there has been a long history between Germany and Ethiopia, and that his nation is eager to further deepen ties with Ethiopia and the rest of the continent.
The Ethiopian Internet Governance Forum receives praise from the United Nations Internet Governance Forum Secretariat. Ethiopia is going to host the International Internet Governance Conference in November, and various committees from various institutions are making preparations. Minister of Innovation and Technology and Chair of the National Committee, Bellete Molla, said that necessary preparations are being made for the success of the forum. After attending the review on the preparations done so far, the delegation appreciated Ethiopia's readiness for the upcoming event. The delegates are expected to discuss with the members of the Ethiopian Parliament and the International Internet Governance Advisory Committee.
Ambassador, I want you to explain about the bilateral relationship between Ethiopia and India.
Indians have always found Ethiopia to be their home.
The relationship in international fora of UNSC. So what's the impetus for India and what's the mutual understanding in such occasions?
We have always looked at our sisters and brothers in Africa, in Asia and in the Caribbean as our own.
What's your take on the efforts of the government of Ethiopia now to conduct a national dialogue?
African solutions for African problems